Hello, hello. Welcome to the show. I'm gonna
Hey,
run this logo and get things officially started.
sound.
How are you today?
Hey, I'm doing well. How are you?
Yeah, making movies or feeling the pandemic crunch of having to wait to make movies?
Um, well, to be honest, both. I've actually been producing a decent amount of content during the pandemic, safely, of course. Last week I shot two shorts in a week, and it was very intense because it was like all day type shooting. But I had a phenomenal crew and some really great Boston-based actors, total gems. So it was very great for me to film it.
But
But
only two? Why so slow?
I know, right? Like should have done 10 in that time. But yeah, two. It's and there was one of them that I shot with um it was a special effects type burn victim. So he looked completely gnarly. We had this special effects artist, he goes by Skippy, and he just like turned this man into a monster. Like his head, he was missing an eye, his hands were all gross. So it was really fun to do. And I totally missed doing stuff like that because of the pandemic.
Yeah, it's been a slow year, but well, that means we're gonna have lots more content from you on Reveal eventually. So people
For
should look
sure.
out for that as you finish up those shorts. Monster just premiered on Reveal.
Yes.
It's a new horror thriller
I'm
short
very
film.
excited to see it on Reveal.
Filmmakers can always pitch their films better than I can recap them. So why don't you tell people the setup for what Monster is?
Okay, let's see. After I'd say a recent divorce from a an abusive husband, a mother and son move into a new home. During their time there, the son is plagued by visions of a monster, but the mother just kind of brushes it off as trauma from the recent abuse or, you know, very basic childhood fears. Um, but then she soon realizes that the monster is actually more real than she thought and might be even worse than those childhood fears. Of
It's a neat combination. And again, I hate to give things away to people, so I won't.
course, it's
But
fine.
it's a neat combination of a monster movie and a haunted house movie, sort of like put together. You must be a fan of the genre. Are you a horror movie fan?
Oh, definitely. I primarily write horror thrillers, but I'm not limited to that. I do like I don't know. It's always my go-to.
So you shot this in 2019,
Yes,
so
about 2 years ago.
pre-pandemic.
Right.
And
Pandemic.
where did you shoot? Where are you based?
I'm based in New York, but where I shot this, my God, I'd say locations where one of the biggest learning experiences for me as a new
Okay.
filmmaker. I had an original house where this was
Mhm.
supposed to be done in a total of 2 days, but after shooting one scene, my homeowner realized that she didn't want to do this and kicked all of us out. And it was probably one of the most like stressful.
In the middle of your shoot.
Yeah. And so I had to like grab my gear and like, okay, I don't know what to do anymore. So I quickly did some research and tried to find a second location ASAP, which I was lucky enough to, and I did that. And then so I shot one day fully in this location that I paid for. And then I asked a friend to use part of their house, so I was able to do that. And I had an exterior shot from another house that was in Boston. So this film was kind of shot in many different locations to create one house.
I mean, that's the magic of cinema one. Like films like Home Alone, I only recently learned the entire inside of that house was built in a school gymnasium. They built the
Wow.
sets in a high school gymnasium that was closed, that was in Chicago where they were shooting. I mean, I would never know watching your film, so that's the magic of movies that
Oh, well,
the
they
audience will never know. Two, I think a lot of people don't always understand that in indie filmmaking, in short filmmaking, we're not always working with the budgets that Hollywood has. So,
yes.
Hollywood can solve everything with money, where if you had more money to pay that homeowner, they probably would have let you stay. But the ingenuity, the real challenge to indie filmmakers is just what you did. You got it done by any means necessary. You know, you had this massive challenge. Again, all filmmaking is stressful. Indie filmmaking is like 10 times more stressful because you don't
Yeah,
always have the same resources to work with. So kudos to figuring it out, because a lot of some people just give up and then they don't finish their movie. But I think part of being a solid producer and director is like, no, this is the story we're telling, and no matter what obstacle is going to hit us during production, we're going to get it out there. uh
I totally
cast
feel in that.
Casting, how did you cast this movie? Because you have to have family dynamics. You've got people who are related to each other. So what's the casting process like that to find mother and son?
Well, I casted my actors through Backstage and then through kind of recommendations for the children. They were not professional actors and this was their first time. So it was I purposely wanted this to be my first short film that I produced, directed all this myself, because working with children is a challenge in itself. And having no budget for a movie is also on top of that. So I just wanted to give myself the obstacles. But so they met for the first time when we started shooting, and I had a mini rehearsal with them. But the kids were so great, and my actors, they were rehearsed lines with me separately. So everyone was just very professional and clicked immediately. I felt I was very blessed in that regard.
Is the game of massive tire rolling a thing from where you grew up, or is that just something that you improved on the day? It looked fun. I was like, why didn't I do that as a child?
All right. Well, actually, I did improv that in my script. I wanted them to be passing a ball around, but I saw these tires and I felt like it really fit. What I wanted them to kind of look like was just really bored suburban kids, like
Yeah.
right before that, his mom took away his video game. She's like, go play. And so he's like throwing a tantrum, like, whatever, I'll go roll this tire. So I really just wanted to show that aspect, to show like these are bored suburban kids. They'll, do something, they'll make a game out of anything.
And I love, the childhood bullying and that boy friendship of like, hey, I'm trying to tell you something seriously is wrong with my life, and all you want to do is antagonize me to face this thing
Yeah.
that I'm terrified of. Making a monster movie, there are a lot of monsters in sort of Hollywood and film history. How you wrote this as well. So when you're writing it, how do you come up with an original monster? Like what's your process in thinking about what's the monster that I want to put on screen?
Okay. Well, for this movie particularly, I wanted to kind of show the audience that humans are the real monsters and human nature can be very dark at times. And so, not spoiling too much. Well, I guess it is a pretty big spoiler, but my monster is um, a man. It's a human who's like, attacking this boy. And in the film, there's kind of several monsters. You can say that the mother is a monster for not listening to her son. There's the fantasy monster. There's the abusive father. There's the man in the house. And so the title, I wanted to have the many different meanings of monster and what a monster is, but also it kind of played with the different perceptions of reality from what a child would see a monster as versus what an adult would. So for me, this movie was just portraying human nature as monstrous.
What's interesting there too? Well, I'll say one of the best moments for me, and I won't give the context, but is the camcorder moment.
Yes.
Finding the camcorder. And I think about this as a filmmaker, but a lot of people don't understand. Like when a character in a movie picks up a camcorder or looks at the computer screen, you have to do a whole separate shoot to get that content. Did you shoot that all on the same day, or was that shot sort of in advance of making the movie?
It's actually really funny. I did shoot that in the same day. I had the kid like laying in a bed and we did the camcorder footage and then we just brought it to the other room at the end of the day and then we shot that scene. So it was all in one day.
So you say that you primarily write genre content, horrors and thrillers. What is it about that genre that you think speaks to you? Like what's your love for horror films?
I feel horror can also be very, fantasy. It's a lot of mythology. It's a lot of like creatures. It's a lot of monsters. But it like how I write too. It could also be psychological,
Yeah.
psychology. But yes, so I gravitate towards that genre because I feel like honestly, you can create anything with horror.
Hmm.
And film is so interesting because you can really make worlds come to life. And so I feel like with my writing, it's you can really take away from everyday life and escape somewhere, especially in something completely different from your mundane day-to-day life. So I do gravitate towards horror in that. And I guess I'm a little spooky.
A little spooky, not a terrible thing. How in genre filmmaking, one of the most important characters is invisible in the movie, but we hear it. The music and the sound design. So talk me through how you do, because your film is creepy from start to finish, and it builds and it builds. So talk to me about the process of finding, the right music and the right sound design for a horror piece.
Um, okay, so for the music, I really do love atmospheric, like slow buildups. But I worked with my sound designer and we were going through a bunch of just different noises and interesting things. And I did want to make it a little artistic, a little different, but I wanted to have that like kind of claustrophobic type of feel. In the film, the boy feels kind of trapped in his home. He feels claustrophobic. This monster is kind of everywhere. And so I wanted to portray that with my music. So hearing this kind of slow atmospheric build up from everywhere and it just kind of consumes you all at the end is what I was looking for. So that was the monsters theme.
You co-edited the film with is it Mike Levinson? Is that how you pronounce it?
Yes.
Mike Levinson and yourself edited the film, but he also shot the film and was the composer. Is there an advantage to having your composer also help edit the film in terms of pacing and getting the music and the scares right?
Oh, definitely. Mike and I are actually like co-producers, partners with our filmmaking. We make so many different projects together. We have a couple other horror films, the films that I shot last week. Both of us like co-wrote them, produced them together. So it's a lot of teamwork, and I feel very grateful that I found like him and also other people that are that I click with creatively. So when we're editing it together or we're making the sound. He actually started off in sound, so it was really
Okay.
cool for us to connect. But we kind of just like fed off each other with like ideas and stuff like that. So it's a really good collaboration in that sense. We feel very comfortable just like editing together. So I am,
I
happy
actually
about
saw on his resume that he was the boom operator on a movie called Gutterbug that I played opposite of at Dances with Films Festival several years ago.
that.
So
Really,
he sounds like he'd be a fascinating discussion to talk about how do you go from boom operator to cinematographer and producer. That's an unusual career path for people.
it is. I think that he did start off in audio with like music producing. Then he got
Mhm.
into boom mopping. I could be wrong. Mike, correct me. But
No
and
worries.
then he got into visuals afterwards. So it was cool, and I feel like we clicked in that sense as well because I also had a music background. I grew up actually singing like classical opera, and then I made my way to film. So it's interesting like that.
Opera singer.
Yeah, I'm not gonna sing right now, but
No,
yes.
I wouldn't put anyone on the spot, but I mean, sounds like you're gonna have to make a horror movie that involves opera somehow.
I actually want to someday. Even if like I had this idea of like if I made all the sound effects from a movie, even the soundtrack or the
Mhm.
atmospheric noises based off of like human vocals. So just different humans kind of replicating those noises. I think it'd be really interesting.
That's awesome. We had
Yeah.
elements of that in a horror film that I directed where the building had an old swimming pool in it that had been removed. It was like a sort of like a YMCA building at one point in time. And it just had this amazing reverb. And our composer had come to set to record some elements for the score, but he had our two lead actors like whisper and hum and just do these vocal range exercises. Neither of them are trained singers,
Yeah.
but it just added this little layer to certain parts of the score. So I think to do the whole thing like that, I mean, I think you're destined to make this movie. You should get on that. Now I want to see this movie. Go. I want it released and reveal this time in 2022. You've got 1 year. Go.
Oh, I will do it faster than that.
Oh, perfect. 6 months. I want it. Yeah. I want a summer blockbuster. I want it to be reveal
Summer
summer blockbuster.
blockbuster.
Get on it. You got a couple months
You
left.
got it.
In terms of directing horror and thriller films, you don't have that music and atmosphere on set on the day. So what is the process for you of keeping keeping the tone and the pacing with the camera movement, as well as like keeping your actors in that fearful state?
My writing is very action based in general, and I think that my directing tone kind of shows in the script. So I feel that when my actors did speak to me or rehearse with me, it was pretty evident about their characters, and they did it pretty easily. But keeping the tone in the film, especially with the children, keeping them with everything, I primarily focused on facial expressions and body language. I think that you can show a lot through actions. You don't even need dialogue to really portray a story. It could just be all action based. So I would tell the boys and I would tell my other actors to use their facial expressions, to use their hands, to move quickly,
Hmm.
to kind of show that emotion. So they didn't even have to feel it. It's mainly just how they showed it, how they played it.
I think your poster is very brave too, because it's revealing, but you also have no idea what it means until you actually see the movie. So I really love that. It reminds me of something like out of Alien, with Sigourney Weaver like looking to peep through into where the monster might potentially be. So
For
well
sure.
done on that.
Thank you.
Well, congratulations on your Reveal premiere, and I hope that our viewers will go out and find it. If you're watching this on YouTube or Facebook or Instagram TV, revealmovies.com is where you can find it. If you look up the short film Monster, it's there. So go watch it. It's short. How could you not have time to watch somebody's short film? It's short. It's not a 4-hour supercut of a movie that just came out. It's easy. Anything else you want to tell us before we wrap it up?
Um, Thank you guys for watching my interview. I'm really happy to be here. I am working on a feature length anthology right now that tackles both genres, horror and romance.
Are
And
are you doing all of the parts of the anthology?
yes, I'm directing it.
Awesome, because
We,
a lot of times anthologies are made up of different filmmakers putting their pieces together. So
I am tackling many different subgenres of horror when
okay.
portraying these stories. So it's episodic, but I wrote and I'm filming all of them. So it'll be really
Well,
fun.
I'm looking forward to it because I liked Monster a lot, and it's been a pleasure chatting with you today.
You as well.
Bye for now. We'll have you back on when you have some more movies debuting on Reveal.
Great. Take care.